Hi, thank you for joining me today for another Google Sheet lessons. We are still talking about Google Sheet series within Google Sheets. Last time we talked about area charts. Now we will talk about the column charts. So now let's get to it. We go to basics and then you go all the way down until you reach and then you go all the way down until you reach chart part 2. You go all the way down. This is the area chart we did last time. So this is the column chart. So similar to area chart, there are two types of column charts. I have added a third chart which looks similar to a column chart. However, it is called histogram instead, which is right here. So within column chart, there are three types of graphs. So there is a regular column chart, which looks like this. And then you have stacked column, which are stacked on top of each other. Then you have 100% stacked column, which are based on a 0 to 100%. So different between this one and this one is the top one is based on a quantity and the bottom one is based on a percentage. And the similar to a column chart, you have a bar chart, and then you have exact same thing as a column except is flipped to the side. So you have a bar chart, and then you have a stacked bar chart right beside each other. Then you have 100%, which starts from 0 from one end and then goes to 100 on the other. And then lastly, we have a histogram, which is very similar to a bell curve, or also known as distribution or frequency chart in statistics. So now that we have all of this, now let's go to the actual chart in the chart sheet and see what it's all about. So let's go all the way to the bottom. We want to go to the orange section. So there it is. So in this one, we have the first column chart, and this is the graph. So this is the data, and this is the graph. And we are looking at months, revenues, and expenses. So revenues are in blue, as indicated here, and expenses are in red. And as you can see, the column chart really helps in here because we can see the different months and compare revenue and expenses for each month and see the trend of how the revenues are moving and how expenses are moving. And in this case, the revenue goes up and then it goes down in March, and exact same thing happened with expenses. So you can see their correlation is the same. Next, we can also use a column chart. You can also use a column chart in a survey. So in here we have very unsatisfied, unsatisfied, neutral, satisfied, and very satisfied. And these are the results for these surveys. And as you can see, they're plotted here. And most of the survey results were satisfied. So this is one way of using the column chart. We can also use the stack chart, and similar to the area stack chart. For the column chart, you're stacking the data points on top of each other and trying to see what is the total. So in this case, the total matters more than the individual. So if you look at the different regions, we have northwest, southwest, and west sales region, and then we're comparing hotels, transportation, and food. And for all of them, the hotel will cost a lot. The next is the transportation, and the least amount that will cost is the food. Now let's look at the next one. So this is very helpful, the stacked column. However, 100% stacked column is even more helpful, as you can see it looks at the data in a percentage. So hotel will cost 75% of our total cost for Northwest, and for the Southwest it will cost around 60% or 55% of the total cost, and for the West it will cost the least amount. It will cost only around 55%. So it's very useful for that. Now let's look at bar chart. So you can easily use a column chart, but some people like to use a bar chart. One reason people use it, if you have a long name in here, so here it says A, B, C, D. If you have a long name here and a short name on the other side, then it's better to use a bar graph, because if you have a column graph, the bottom will have a big name and therefore it will be too congested. But if you have a bar chart, it won't be as congested, as we will look at in the next few examples where the name is a bit long. So in here we have different grades, the junior and senior students in a school for the semester. So you can see that the senior student, most of them got a B, while the junior student, most of them got a C. And you can see the different distribution of the students and how much they got. Also, you can look at a web traffic source. So you have the different sources: organic, direct, referral, paid, search, and social. And then you have the different percentages. And then you can see that the most web traffic source is the organic search. And then you have the direct, and then you have the referral. So this names on the Y value can be long. That's why we're using this one. But we could have easily used a column graph if we wanted to. So this is a stacked bar. You can see there the different schools. Then you have the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior class sizes. So freshman means the first year, sophomore is a second, junior is a third, and senior is the fourth semester of a university. So you can see the different class sizes. As you can see, sophomore, which is the second year of university, you have really big classes. And then senior and freshman probably next in line for the most amount of classes. And the least classes you have is in your third year. Let's look at 100% stack bar. So you have the different months of the sales, and then you have north and south regions. And then you can see that from January to around March, north region wasn't doing as well. South region had more sales per month, more than 50%. And then as the year progressed, the north started catching up and had more sales than the south. And now the last graph is the histogram graph, which is also known as a bell curve or distribution or frequency chart. It is very much common in statistics. Most of the chart is basically the numbers are in the middle. So in this case, all we have is one data point, which is the number of test scores from a student. And then based on 0 to 5, you can see which has the most amount. So most of the student scores are between 70% to 80%. We can't really see it here, but when you plot them all out, it will plot all the numbers between 70 to 80 in this column, and therefore this is has the highest number of frequency. Next, we have the weekly salary of an entry-level employee. And when you plot all of these numbers in here, You can see there are at least four frequency of salaries between 800 to 880, and that's why we have the 4 year. And then you have the number goes down until at least three data points also have salaries weekly between 1040 to 1120 dollars per week. So these are the different column charts that I wanted to share. Now let's go back to basics and let's just quickly go through this. So column chart, you compare the numerical data across the different categories. They're great for one or two variables. It's very easy to use. For the stat column, you understand the breakdown of the total as a group. And then if you don't want the total, you can also break it down into a percentage in the 100% stacked column. And for the bar, which is similar to column except it's flipped to the side, you compare the numerical data across the different categories. Is great for also one or two development of a variable. So this, say, for example, is two variables, and you can see the development of each of them as you go across. But if you have more variables, it could become a bit complicated, and it's better to use a different graph to decrease the complexity. An example will be total sales versus product type. You can also use a stack bar to understand the breakdown of the total as a group. And if you don't want the total, you want a percentage, you can use this. And histogram, you can use the show distribution frequency of the data. It's used heavily in statistics, as every other statistics graph is a bell curve graph showing the distribution. So this is all, guys, I wanted to show you. Next class, we will look at the pie charts. There's only three types, so it'll be really easy to go through it. And then we have geo, and then finally we'll scattered, and finally we'll have a bunch of these other graphs, which we can go in detail when we get there. All right, so we're almost there. And then once we're done, we can go back to our functions and look at all of these different types of formulas. Good thing we have now is that all the charts will be covered, so anytime I'm explaining charts in the future, you won't have to worry about it. All right, thank you for your time and to sticking around until the end. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you liked this content. Kindly share with your friends, family, and anyone else you think who would be interested in knowing about Google Sheets or knowing about charts or knowing about the functions. All right, have a great day. Thank you.